Depression creeps up on you quietly. At the very beginning, you struggle with the little things, but you usually choose to ignore them. It's like a headache. You'll tell yourself it's temporary. And
Depression is a common mental disorder. It usually presents with depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure, feeling of guilt or low self-worth, disturbed sleep or appetite, and low energy and poor concentration. These problems can become chronic or recurrent and lead to substantial impairments in individuals' ability to take care of everyday responsibilities. By 2020, depression will be one of the leading causes of death and disability.
because that's what you have to do. That's what others do. However, the problem does not go away. You struggle to put on a play every day, and it starts to cost you more and more. That is where you fall.
My name is Michael Grant. I'm a high school counselor now.
Alright, so
Common signs of depression I'm aware of is withdrawing. So, for example, if you have a lot of friends and all of a sudden that person individually starts to pull back from that group of friends, they stop doing things. So, like if they used to do certain tasks, or say you get an assignment, all of a sudden those assignments aren't being done anymore, but the usual things that you do are kind of changing as well. Another sign is if you're not eating very well. So, for example, you just don't have the drive. It's not that you're not eating well, but the drive and desire and the need your body-wise just isn't there because of what your body's going through. Another system is like being very irritable, so you don't have a lot of expense to be able to be paid to other people. Things have to happen now. So you just don't have your flexibility, you don't have some of the openness that you normally would do. I know your sleep also is affected dramatically by it, depending on if you then sleep more. Or have issues sleeping at night, specifically actually going to bed. I could go on for forever, but at least those are some of the signs that I'm most evident.
depression is the leading cause of disability in the U.S. for ages 15 to 44.
It could be a variety combination of a lot of different things. It can be something where that is just simply disappointing over a period of time, and it keeps happening to you, so it makes you feel a certain way. So it feels directions are going a certain place that kind of makes you who you are, and you might not be happy with that. Those are kind of things that can lead to depression. A lot of pressure, per se. So if you're getting a lot of pressures from home or personally, or you yourself giving yourself a lot of pressure for doing assignments or completing tasks or athletics, then you can kind of let yourself down a little bit. And that can also, if you do something negative, and that can also lead into some forms of depression. Just life itself, being able to have to deal with so many different things and not having the time to actually really go through that process. I think our education of how we handle trauma also kind of hurts, because we don't get allowed the time, the freedom, the space to actually explore ourselves. We're told that you have to do that while you go to school, while you help your family, while all these things still have to go on. So I just think that some of those things are what can lead to some depression situations.
Depression affects more than 15 million American adults, or about 6.7% of the U.S. population, age 18 and older in a given year.
I try to be as kind of soft and quiet body language-wise and how I'm communicating to them. I ask them how they're doing, what's going on with them. I try not to tell them what to do. I'm also aware that drugs can also, and alcohol can also play a role in that respect. I don't immediately start talking to the student about that, if that's the issue or an option or possibility. But that's something that if they do open up, we'll get to, just to kind of explore if that's another aspect of it, because that can also lead to depression, just to be aware of it, the use of it consistently. So those are just some things. As far as the approach, you kind of have to be the right person at the right time. You can't just force yourself or insert yourself in what they're doing in their lives. You kind of have to allow them to be able to. So I try to present it in a way that leaves an open door, lets them know that I actually really, truly, genuinely care about the situation, and that I'm not here to judge. So those are kind of some things that I do as far as the approach. situations like some families don't have insurance. There's some scenarios where maybe a doctor might not be a resource. So what I do, I used to be an old physical education teacher as well as a health teacher. What I do know, one thing that has helped depression, mental health situations, is eating correctly, getting the proper rest, and actually working out. So how much you are physical in your day. And those three things are known to be things that can adapt or approach that depressional situation. It's not cures. There's not a depression out there, by any means. But there are things that you can do to kind of help support yourself, to pull yourself away from that feeling, those ideas, those thought processes. What I talk about is stinking thinking, because when we start to get into that form, we tend to be negative. And so it's just that negative thought process. So what I try to say is, try to support a positive vibe. So what I say is positive thoughts bring positive results. So I try to get a different positive view in their heads, or just to be aware of that. Outside of that, clinical support. If they need to have a check-in with somebody, that's what we can do as counselors. We can be that everyday or weekly check-in. But if they need a consistent support psychologically or another aspect that goes further, then we would refer to an outside resource in that respect. We have the clinic here at Como, so that's one resource that we could use.
All right,
we get a large number of students that go through a lot of variety of different things. Depression and anxiety are high on the list, the priority list. To give a number, I can't give you that, but I would say percentage-wise, not saying in the school, but I've come in contact technically with, I'll give you a number, I say at least 40 students this year that have mentioned some form of depression or maybe anxiety too. That's not a part of this, but so it's a pretty decent number of students that are affected by this.
I think that was it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
There's an estimate of 121 million people around the world who are currently suffering from some form of depression.